Barbadians reminded about the importance of values and principles. A candlelight vigil held for 2 Bush Hall residents who died tragically in a house fire. And in sports, the Bajan Gems crushed by the Black Ferns in World Netball action.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom, and this is Newsnight. In our top story tonight, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Mottley is reminding Barbadians of the importance of remaining committed to their principles and values, even when it becomes inconvenient to do so. The Prime Minister was addressing the opening of the regional convention of the Jackson Church of God, which was held at Solidarity House. Prime Minister Mottley said it is too easy for some people to abandon their principles when times become hard. But she notes it is their duty to remain true to their values, regardless of the circumstances in which they find themselves.
And to that extent, therefore, I believe that our faithfulness in being committed to that common set of principles and values will do more to save us both in terms of the pursuit of what we want to achieve as a society and as an economy, but also what we do as we labor in the name of our own spirituality and in defense of our own religion.
The convention was attended by delegates from across the Caribbean, and with this in mind, opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley, who also delivered an address, talked about the importance of the church in a regional context.
That demonstrates unity to the extent that no other organization has been able so to do. Historically, that is true, and the evidence is there. So those who say or fail to recognize that have not discovered the power of the Spirit that infuses this organization we call the church.
Meantime, in his welcome, presiding bishop of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the West Indies, Bishop Gerald Seal said Barbados and the entire region needed God in their midst in a significant way, and he encouraged the leaders to use these days to connect with God. Well, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Mottley joined residents of Bush Hall for a candlelight vigil last night in memory of 82-year-old Barbara Ford and her 53-year-old son Carlton Ford, who died in a house fire in Alleen's Land last month. Valiant efforts by residents in the area to save the mother and son proved futile. Calling it the most tragic incident in her 30 years of representing the St. Michael Northeast constituency, Ms. Mottley said nothing can prepare you for death, especially one so horrific, but we must find comfort in God.
And you give thanks because we do not know what will happen tomorrow, tonight, next week, or next month. And that the belief in a higher purpose and in a higher God is what gives us the faith to walk forward, but that we should do so with grace is what also the Lord would want of us. As hard, therefore, as it seems, I ask the family and the community to be comforted by the memories, to carry the memories of Ms. Ford and Carlton in your hearts.
There is potential for a partnership between the Ministry of Foreign Trade and the Sridhar Ramphal Center at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill. And this from Minister in that ministry, Sandra Husbands, during the opening ceremony and launch of the center's new website. Ms. Husbands says in the current world environment, there are several issues which need innovative trade solutions that will be important to Barbados. And she says that's one of the areas in which the two sides can consult.
We are dealing with a number of matters in all of the arenas right now. You have at the WTO the trade facilitation, you have the dispute settlement mechanisms, you have jostlings between the countries in relation to who should be in and who should be out. We also have issues at Quartet, which we deal with in foreign trade, and some of the information coming out from there should really be on your website. So we're going to have to talk through a collaboration.
Meantime, Dean and Senior Lecturer in Management Studies, Dr. Justin Robinson, says it's an interesting time to be involved in trade policy and suggests the center have an intellectual research-driven component. Dr. Robinson, who is also one of the founders of the center, says its programs need to focus on preparing the students with the mental agility to adjust to a quickly changing global environment.
The world is evolving in a very interesting way as I look on from outside. So is multilateral still a given? Are these multilateral institutions going to be dominant in the way they have been for the last, since the post-World War II? I mean, that post-World War II consensus and the institutions that came out of it seem to be in an interesting process of negotiation. Also, liberalism, I think, also was a sort of fundamental principle that was underlying a lot of the WTO and that process.
The spotlight was on the class of 2019 at the Derek Smith School and Vocational Center last Friday. This as their graduation ceremony came off at the Jackman St. Michael Institution. Lorna Jones has more.
Non-traditional subjects such as visual spatial development, creative expression, and functional academics complements traditional chalk and talk academic subject areas. Independent living skills and social emotional thinking are non-traditional subject areas which allows us to support the growth of healthy adults who can contribute in a positive way to our Barbadian society.
I don't know who that person was. I'm really just another friend of theirs. When I look at you, the graduating class of 2019, I see enormous potential. I see problem solvers, artists, thinkers, builders. I see untapped talent. I see very courageous people who are ready to soar off, soar to new places, new institutions, new experiences, and who will continue to make a difference wherever you go.
Well, over in Trinidad and Tobago, Minister of National Security Stuart Young has agreed to set up a tripartite body to deal with the many issues fire officers are faced with daily. As he addressed the passing out parade of fire service recruits on Friday, Minister Young said he's willing to work with the Fire Services Association to find solutions to their challenges. Sherilyn Lewis reports.
Lack of apparatus to perform their jobs is among the myriad of challenges facing the fire service. But Minister Young said, with the tripartite body in place, the service will be in a better position to resolve those issues.
Of most, if not all, of the challenges that the men and women in the fire service face today. And I say here today as your minister that unfortunately we are in times where there certainly is not a money tree, and there certainly are not the financial resources available to us for us to be able to purchase all that is necessary for the fire service. I can also say here today that as the minister, I give my fullest commitment to work along with your Fire Officers Association.
Minister Young explained how the idea for the committee came about.
Asking that this tripartite body be set up in the shortest possible time, fulfilling my commitment to work along with you in the trenches, the men and women of the fire service.
The minister also lauded the Tobagonian trainee firefighters who also passed out in the parade, saying Tobagonians have not been forgotten.